in progress.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we went up a little bit from our ordinance committee, call our council meeting to order, and please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please.
Council Horn here, Council Foster here. Mayor Kaminsky.
Here.
Council Anderson.
Here.
Council Rivard.
Here.
Donna.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah. Council Rosso.
Here.
Council Beach. Here. Mayor, you have a forum.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is audience of citizens. If there's anyone in the audience who wants to speak, about you on our agenda or anything, in town, now would be your time. Here or on in Zoom land. See anyone here? Anyone on Zoom wishes to speak to us? No. Okay. We're going to close the audience of citizens. No updates tonight from me, and we'll go on to our meeting agenda. So we have a consent agenda tonight with 12 items on the consent agenda tonight. Consent items, I'm just going to go through them really quickly. Number one, donation to the counselors have had this information before and read it and reviewed it. Donation for the Berlin Animal Control for $165. Number one. Number two is accept donations to the library, a couple of different amounts. Number three is approve Berlin High School Boosters Club to sell food, beverages, and merchandise at Berlin High School events during the 23-24 school year, Park and Rec. Number four is approve the volunteer fire department to be able to sell food and beverages at their annual Autorama and Touch a Truck event at Sage on Saturday, March 27th. That's the Park and Rec one as well. Number five, approve CFC North to charge a registration fee of $175 for a youth soccer camp which will take place on July 10th to 15th. 2023 at Scalise Field. Well, they will have approximately 40 children at the camp. That's Park and Rec. Number six, approve acceptance of the donation to the fishing derbies in the amount of $100 for Berlin Park and Rec Department's youth fishing derbies to be held on Saturday, April 22nd and Saturday, April 29th. Sage Park. For seven, approve the JNS Soccer Camps LLC to charge a registration fee of $125 for a preseason high school soccer camp, which will take place August 14th through the 18th, 2023. That would be soccer field, should be about estimated about 60 people at that event. Number eight, approve Berlin High School to be able to sell food and beverages and charge an entrance fee to the Lineman Challenge competition on Saturday, July 8th at Sage Park. Number nine, approve waiving estimated field usage fees not to exceed an amount of $6,950. For the 2023 Nutmeg State Games to be held at Scalise Field and Beretta Field on July 14th to July 30th. 10, approve John Demko and Max De Lorenzo of P&Q Enterprises to charge a registration fee of $225 for the Central Connecticut Youth Football Camp taking place June 12th through the 16th for approximately 80 children at Scalise Field. 11, accept the donation of $175 and appropriate the funds to the police canine program. And number 12, accept the donation of $25 and appropriate the funds to the supplies expenditure account for the police. Those are our 12 items on our consent agenda. Councilors, any questions on those? No. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Hearing no other comments or questions, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we have our public hearing.
In your packet. you'll have
There we go. Here we go. Yeah. So, hereby convene the public hearing for the $6.5 million police station renovation project appropriation and bond ordinance, the ordinance, which is the subject of this public hearing, is available to the public and may be obtained at this meeting from the town clerk. So is there a motion and a second to read the title of the following proposed ordinance and to waive the reading of the remainder of the ordinance, incorporating its full text into the minutes of this meeting? So motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion passes. The title of the ordinance, an ordinance appropriating $6.5 million for the addition and renovations to the Berlin Police Station and authorizing the issuance of $6.5 million of bonds to the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. So we have our public hearing. We start first of all for comments from the public. If there's any comments on this ordinance, now would be the time. If not, you don't hear any of those.
So,
So do we have one?
I wanted to ask.
Anyone on Zoom have any comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the comments from the public and we'll just have a brief discussion here for council. So I'll go ahead and start it off. So we decided to go ahead with this, the $6.5 million bond. We've been in this process for a while to do some renovations to our police department. They need it in certain areas, and we're going to do it. But we're still not far enough along. We discussed it a little bit at our last council meeting. And then the Board of Finance discussed it as well. I went to the Board of Finance to get their feelings on it. And I also talked to the Public Building Commission. So it's a little bit premature to go out with a $6.5 million bond because the process is still not completed yet. So we don't have hard estimates. We have some estimates from I think about a year ago or so. And as we all know, construction prices have changed quite a bit in the last year, and we still don't really have any hard figures, which are due to come to us sometime, I think in the spring. And then we would have specific information. It's if we, my opinion, and we'll discuss it, see what we think. But if we go out for a bond issuance of $6.5 million, it's kind of like going to buy a house or getting a mortgage for a house when you don't know the cost of the house is. And we kind of went through this before in town with the high school. If we go back a few years, I think they had to go out a couple of different times for the high school because when they first borrowed money, it wasn't enough. I think they went back maybe 2 more times. So we certainly don't want to be in that situation with the renovations. It's a project that's going to get done, but we don't have all the information yet. It's in the process. And as we move forward, we will be able to figure out the costs and how to phase it or how to, work on the scope of the project when we know what it's going to cost. So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here with the bond. To certainly. We wouldn't approve it tonight anyway. The way the process works is we have our public hearing tonight. And then in a couple of weeks, we would vote on the bond issuance. Ultimately, we go to referendum. But again, we're nowhere near a referendum, and to send a figure that's quoted to me by a Public Building Commission member who does many construction projects, to put any figures out there right now is very premature, so not the best thing to do. So certainly don't want to put figures out to the public that are incorrect. And we don't have any specific figures yet, so that's kind of where we stand on this, but we figured we'd go ahead and have this public hearing just to explain that to the public, to see some members of the police department, the chief, deputy chief. Project is moving forward, it's going through the process as it should, but this particular part is a little bit too premature. So that's kind of what we stand, where we go. Folks, comment, question? Council?
I would just like to add that I guess the initial amount was 5.2 million roughly.
Rough estimate, probably back of the napkin
And I
type of
guess the
thing.
6.5 represents roughly 20% increase, which is really not unheard of, considering everything that's being done out there in terms of finding product, building, wages, inflation. That 25 to 30% is roughly what we're looking at these days. So I don't think that number is too far.
This may be a realistic figure, I don't know. But I would prefer to wait for the information. I understand this was an effort to get the bonds on the referendum with the budget to save money, so we don't have to open polls twice. But I still think it's premature. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll get better information. I understand it. Almost ready to go off the bid. And I want to see the project move along as quickly as possible. I would not be opposed even to us funding part of it without the bond.
Anything? No. Donna? Okay. Yeah, so and again, the Board of Finance felt the same way. It was kind of unanimous from them as well. That's why I brought it to them. It's really premature to try and go out for a bond with this amount. We just don't have any concept of what it really will cost us, and that's not fair to put figures out there. I think to the public and not be enough, or maybe it's too much. So that's kind of where we stand. So at this point, Jeff, just a question for you. So we'll go ahead and if there's no other comments from the council, we'll go ahead and close this meeting. But just please don't misinterpret this as we're not doing the project. I just want to make sure that's clear. We are doing the project. It's on its own schedule, and we've been working on this for a while, and so it's going to get done. So I want to make that clear to everyone. Once we get our estimates, we can move forward with the construction. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. But my question is, at this point, do we still go 2 weeks from now and vote on it, or do we just table it? That's one.
It depends on whether you're voting on the resolution that you had the public hearing on. If the number changes and there's a new resolution because of a different dollar amount, you need to have another public hearing.
Yeah, and we won't know though in 2 weeks probably what the number is. That's the problem. So we're according to public building, they're talking in the spring, early spring. They would have some hard numbers, I guess, once the estimates come in. So that's why I don't know where this leaves. This. Do we just vote on this one? Should we just vote on this one? Take a vote, or can we just table it, or no? Because we have the public hearing.
The point of voting on it would be if you want to appropriate the funds.
Right.
And schedule it for a referendum.
Right, which we don't want to
If you're
do.
not there yet, then there's
We're not
no
there.
point to vote on it.
Okay. So that's what we'll leave it, folks. You know, this is just some public information. You know, stay tuned to the council, to the Board of Finance, and to the Public Building Commission as we get these figures. Then we'll have a much better plan of how to proceed and what it will cost. And you know, there are certain portions of the project we always talked about phasing it in anyway over a period of time. So once we know what the costs are to the beginning part of the project, which is from what I remember is the Sally Port, the prisoner processing area, and the locker rooms are what they're in most need of in the police department. And there are other parts of it that were I think phase 2 and 3 of the project, so. The first phase is the most important one, meets the needs of the police department today. And that's what we would do first, as was always the plan, once we get the costs. That's how we'll do it. All right, thank you, folks. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Moving on to new business.
Yes.
The first item on the agenda is the violation of the ethics policy and code of ethics.
Okay,
But from the attorney that the previous meeting, the council wanted some time to review the material. That you like to do members. So that it's continuing.
right, so we have some new members, I know, got some information, emailed to them. And Jeff, corporate secretary, gonna have just do a little, maybe summary for us, and then we can discuss it now. I want to apologize up front, Joanne, council, the other council, Donna, unfortunately, did not make it tonight, and we found out that was this morning, and I thought he would have been notified, and I apologize for that not happening, so I'm sorry for that, so we wouldn't make a decision tonight, we'll have some discussion, but no decision. I don't know. And I'm sorry for that, I thought it was getting through to Joanne and your council.
Understood. I may have one procedural point just to raise.
Yeah.
Before discussion occurs, but I'll allow you to, I don't know when you would like to do that.
Yeah, go ahead, like, sure, yes, please.
And good evening to everyone. Again, I'm David Hill, counsel. Not entirely sure exactly what your intention is to do, how far along you intend to proceed tonight. I understand you're not going to take a vote. I don't know that it was made clear. So we have one of the complainant for the complaint is a sitting member of the council. And so I don't know that it would be appropriate to participate in the deliberations or the vote of it. No disrespect. I just wanted to make sure that point was clear, and respectfully, that's all I have to say.
No, we appreciate that, we got that, yeah. No,
I understood.
Yeah, no, it's okay, no, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we won't waste too much of anyone's time tonight, but spend a little bit, with a summary from Corporation Council, and if we have any other questions while the new council members are still reviewing things, so. But we'll take more time in the future meetings. Just set that up. We'll make sure you're aware. Okay? We'll make sure
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Yes.
You want a summary of where we're at?
Yeah, where we're at, maybe just a
How we
little,
got here?
yes, just a little bit, and thing for the new members.
Sure. So the town of Berlin, hopefully all of you know this by now, has a code of ethics that's established pursuant to the town charter, as well as an ethics policy. And under the charter, there's a board of ethics that was established pursuant to state law. There's a specific state statute 7148B. And under that statute, there's a provision 182A that applies to complaints filed with boards of ethics. And 182A essentially stands for the proposition that unless there's a finding of probable cause, a complaint alleging a violation of the code of ethics, or in this case, the ethics policy, is to remain confidential, except upon the request of the respondent. Okay? We have in an ethics policy a section 1-5 that deals with confidentiality of complaints. And under 1-5, there's a provision that says unless the board makes a finding of a violation, a complaint alleging a violation shall be confidential, except upon the request of the respondent. Likewise, an investigation on that same section 1-5, the ethics policy, investigation and deliberation conducted upon the filing of a complaint prior to a finding of probable cause is confidential, except upon the request of the respondent. And lastly, if the board makes a finding of no violation, then the complaint, the investigation, the records of the Board of Ethics with respect to the complaint remain confidential. So that's what's in the ethics policy that tracks the Connecticut general statutes in terms of the state code of ethics. And like I said, that confidentiality provision is incorporated into municipal codes of ethics pursuant to state statute. The matter that's on your agenda tonight concerns a finding by the Berlin Board of Ethics in December of 2021 upon the complaint by Mrs. Beach that Ms. Angelico Stetson violated the Berlin ethics policy by disclosing in connection with a state representative campaign the existence of a complaint filed by a gentleman named Christian Damiana, who, according to the evidence in the Board of Ethics hearings in November and December of 2021, was a paid campaign worker for Ms. Angelico Stetson's campaign for state representative. So in other words, Mr. Damiana filed an ethics complaint against Mrs. Beach, and the existence of that ethics complaint was disclosed in a campaign mailer by the Angelico Stetson General Assembly campaign, in which Ms. Angelico Stetson was running against Mrs. Beach. And what was published in the campaign mailer was a statement that says Beach has been in office less than a year and is already under Board of Ethics review. That was a bold and underlined for ignoring town rules and hiding conflicts of interest. That last hiding conflicts of interest was a bold and underlined. And a similar statement was posted on the Angelico Stetson campaign for state rep page on Facebook. The complaint against Mrs. Beach was dismissed by the Board of Ethics for lack of probable cause. So under the ethics policy and under the town code of ethics, the existence of the complaint, the contents of the complaint, any investigation concerning the complaint was required to be confidential. So Mrs. Beach filed a complaint with the Board of Ethics against Ms. Angelico Stetson, alleging the violation of that section I read to you, 1-5. And that complaint was based on the disclosure of confidential material, as I just referenced to you when I read to you verbatim what was published in the campaign materials. The Board of Ethics had 2 evidentiary hearings in November and December of 2021. At the conclusion of the December 21st Board of Ethics hearing, the Board of Ethics deliberated and unanimously found that Ms. Angelico Stetson violated section 1-5 of the ethics policy by public disclosure of the existence of the board's investigation of Mrs. Beach in connection with the complaint filed by Mr. Damiana. So that takes you to December 21 of 2021. Once the Board of Ethics decides that a violation has occurred, then under the express terms of the ethics policy, it's up to the town council to decide what, if any, penalty you want to impose for that violation. And you heard from attorneys Hill and Fishbein a couple of times at this point as to their position with respect to whether a penalty should be imposed, what that penalty should be. But ultimately, you've got a section in the code, in the ethics policy 1-4, that specifically identifies what your options are. So your task at this point is to decide what, if any, penalty should be imposed. Okay, it says that you may impose any of the penalties that are listed in 1-4. You're not retrying, if you will, the Board of Ethics proceedings. The Board of Ethics found that there's a violation. So you don't have any jurisdiction to find that there wasn't a violation. Board of Ethics doesn't have jurisdiction to determine the penalty. That's your responsibility. You've all been provided with transcripts from those hearings. You've all been provided with the record, which consists of exhibits that were marked by the complainant and the respondent and introduced into evidence, so to speak, at those two ethics hearings in 2021. So you have the whole record in front of you now. You've heard from counsel. So all that's left for you to do is finish reading everything that's been provided to you and have a discussion and make a decision about what, if any, penalty you want to impose based on that violation.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So I know it was quite a bit of material that some of the folks had to look at, and obviously we're not gonna make a decision tonight because we will, honor the party's attorney's request that they were not able to be present tonight. So we'll go ahead and continue this matter. We'll appreciate the summary. And we'll pick another meeting in the next, hopefully, one of the March meetings. I'm thinking we'll just have to make sure everyone's scheduled, we'll make sure you guys are available, and we'll make sure everybody's available at 9 again. Apologize for the late notification that you've been notified this morning. So anyway, and I thought that had occurred. So we'll go ahead. Yes.
We just asked if they're available either on the 7th or the 14th.
We could do that while they're, yeah, we can do that, yes. While you're here,
Oh, I'm sorry, it would be the 7th or the 21st.
for the 21st, right? Yeah. And then it's up to the regular time.
I'm good on the 7th, the 21st unfortunately does not work for me.
Okay, all right,
All right, thank you.
so appreciate that. So we'll find out, we'll have to,
And if you need to move it beyond that, because the 21st is to have enough time to read or go through everything, then we can look at dates in April.
all right, we'll see. If we can't get to it, but the goal is to get to it as soon as possible and make a decision and certainly move on. So that's what we do. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the next. I'll do the best I can. So, anyways.
Alrighty.
Yes, we are ready to topic 2.
It's a short, regular agenda item today, 6:09. Agenda item number 2 is an authorization to submit a recreational trails grant application for the Hungerford Nature Center trails and participate in recreational trails grant application with the city of Mill. We're already working with multiple parties to try and coordinate this grant application. And we like to get your permission to apply for it, but I will ask Jim to just give you a quick recap of what we're trying to accomplish. What do you, Jim?
Okay, thank you. So Hungerford, again, we've talked about this in January, but we've been working on the application since. With Hungerford, we're looking to improve the existing trail system. Hungerford Nature Center is located on a property in Berlin that's owned by the city of New Britain and leased by Hungerford. And obviously the trail system is available for the public, also serves the Berlin and New Britain public schools. So it's a valuable local resource, especially for our children. And as we've worked on the budget, our current plan is to apply for $75,000. It requires a 20% match to the grant. And we're asking for $5,000 from the payment in lieu of open space account. And then Hungerford would have put in $5,000 in cash and $5,000 in kind to balance out the matching requirement. For the second project, it's Lamentation Mountain Pistol Creek improvements. As you know, the town of Berlin bought the balance of Pistol Creek in Berlin in December. Earlier in 2022, Middletown bought the balance of Pistol Creek Golf Course in Middletown. So the two towns now own the entire former golf course, which had a cart path system, which we know is very popular. We've had an opportunity to repave one section of that, and we'd like to repave more of that section that's north of Spruce Brook Road. We started on the east side. So we'll do we did a third of it on the east side. This project, we would be doing the next third as you go to the west, and then we'll have some more to do in the future. But the project will also help to connect the Pistol Creek area to Lamentation Mountain. There is the Metabessa Trail and the New England National Scenic Trail that start or end at Spruce Brook Road, a little bit west of Pistol Creek. And we would want to make some improvements to the trail in Berlin, and also to there's a parking space there, and if we can, to take some of that trail and get it off the road. So that's the Berlin portion. And in Middletown, they'll be making a number of improvements, including to the cart paths, and also making a trail connection on a City of Middletown open space parcel that's south of Berlin on Atkins Street, to connect from that parcel into Lamentation Mountain Trails. And they also have the Wilcox Conservation Area, which is to the south along the Stantec Road right away that starts in Berlin and goes into Middletown. So they would make improvements along that Stantec Road right away to make the trail connection there. So we'll integrate the trail system, create more loop walks, and improve the access. But most of our money is really being programmed for improvements to cart paths at Pistol Creek.
Thank you, Jim. So I know you're aware of this. We don't need to get into all the details, but I know there is some concern with part of the trail. I think it's the one by Pistol Creek that is near Lamentation Mountain. That the one that an abutting, right, landowner.
Yes.
What if we?
Yeah, we had a public meeting last week. We had some concerns from on a butter to that's the City of Middletown parcel, in which the new trail is planned as part of this. City of Middletown had flagged out a trail, and the property owner had asked that the trail be moved to the south, or further away from his property line. And we've had dialogue with City of Middletown. We're going forward with the application, but have engaged in a process where they're agreeable to trying to relocate the trail to the south. There are some wetlands on the parcel, but we think that we can move it south. Had a meeting with the City of Middletown and property owner's attorney last week, and it was amicable meeting. So that's the intention. Hopefully Middletown will choose. Obviously, it's not a town of Berlin open space property, so we don't have full control there, but we are cooperating with Middletown and they're cooperating with us. So I'm confident that they'll move the trail to the south if at all possible.
Thank you. Now that's on our map here. Which one is that?
The one that's. And
Right. So Jim, that's the first map in our pack, or second map in our packet, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, I'm working remote down in DC today, so I don't have all the maps, but yes, it's in your packet. You have the overall project map. And it's the east-west trail that goes from Atkins Street toward Lamentation Mountain over in Middletown, obviously.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I just add something? There was also another resident that came on Tuesday night to the Conservation Commission meeting. So where there was an entrance into kind of at the other end of this project at Pistol Creek. I think it's right across from her house, if you will. Was there any way that we can move that entranceway a little bit one way or the other? Did we talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think, as I indicated at the hearing, we would move that. Basically, this was Ms. Hanson. She's on the south side of Spruce Brook Road. We're trying to get there's a road walk. People could walk along the road from Pistol Creek to Spruce Brook. We'd like to get the road walk off the road if possible. Ms. Hanson asked us to push the connection from Pistol Creek on the north side to the road walk on the south side as far to the west as possible to get it, off our property. And I think that's doable. And, if we can't come up with a agreeable off the road, and basically it's within the town right of way, we're proposing this road walk, but it would be, in front of those houses. And so if we can't in the final design, come up with something that's acceptable to the property owners, then we'll just delete that section of the project. But with respect to Ms. Hanson, I believe we can move it far enough to the west so it really doesn't affect her.
I just want to add, Jim, that you worked really hard on this project and both these pieces of property, and I can't thank you enough. This is really going to be a great addition to both areas for the people of this community. So this is really a nice piece. The fact that we're getting the funding through DEEP is even nicer. So I thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. The other thing I forgot to mention is that, again, with respect to the Pistol Creek Lamentation Mountain, we have the 20% match, and that in that case would be $40,000, which we're proposing to take from the payment in lieu of open space count also.
Okay, yeah, now we know it's a job to get these things done, so we appreciate all the work. I guess just to go back to the concern of one of the homeowners there. This trail is paved or no? Just
No, I mean, well, first of all, the along Spruce Brook Road in our right of way, we're proposing just like a stone dust path, like 2 or 3, they say 3 feet wide, not paved. In relation to the proposed trail in Middletown off of Atkins Street on the Middletown parcel, that would be just a walk, kind of a walk through the woods, not paved. There are, as I said, there's some wetlands on that parcel, so there would be some requirements for bog bridges and things of that nature to make the crossings, but no, not paved.
Is that staked out now, Jim?
It is flagged. The original path for the Middletown piece is flagged. As I said, actually, Chris Edge, myself, Carl Lewis from the Conservation Commission and others have been, talking about it, and we will look all as well with the city of Middletown about an alternate route to go further south to move it away from the property line to satisfy the property owner's concern.
So, okay, so you're gonna reflag that
Yes,
at some point?
yes.
I would appreciate that. And is there, well, so that part's on Middletown property, right?
That's correct.
That piece, I assume we would share enforcement with that? If,
Enforcement, usually we would enforce ours and they're gonna enforce theirs. I mean, on that particular, again, it's going to be a footpath there.
Right.
So, I mean, I would be typically, we're more concerned, I mean, in terms of like ATV activity.
right,
things
that's what
I would, if you,
I was getting at. That's on our
Yep.
minds. tonight, ATV, so.
yeah, I don't think we're gonna have much of a problem with that ATV, but along the Stantec right away, that would be more possible. And so, you know, I've checked with the police department recently. They still do have the ATV patrols. We will certainly coordinate with the city of Middletown. I mean, I don't think we have any joint patrols at this point, but happy to coordinate with Middletown about what their police do and what our police do to enforce. Middletown also owns a number of open space parcels on Lamentation Mountain, so they have a significant interest. And we, the city of the town of Berlin, also own other parcels up there, as well as the land trust. Berlin Land Trust owns parcels in Berlin, and Middlesex Land Trust. There's a lot of, and the city and the state of Connecticut. So there's a lot of publicly owned parcels up there. And, so a lot of the area is protected, and we all have an interest in trying to make sure that it's used for proper purposes.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Questions for Jim, other questions? Questions? All right, so what do we have on this? Act, so we have a couple of motions here. Okay. Yes, got two.
Move to authorize the town manager to apply for a $75,000 recreational trails grant for the Hungerford Nature Center property, and the town contribute $5,000 of cash match from the fee in lieu of open space account.
Second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Hearing no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. Motion carried. Okay, so moved. With one abstention. Number two.
Move to authorize the town manager to take an grant application be submitted by the town of Middletown for Lamentation Mountain by Fishel Creek area for a recreational trail grant that will include improvements in Berlin, an estimated cost of $200,000. And the town contribute $40,000 in cash match for the Berlin portion of the project from the fee in lieu of open space account.
Second on that?
Second.
Thank you. There's no other questions. We're going to vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. One abstention. So moved. All right, thank you. So Jim, once you mark that other path out to the south, maybe we have maybe another little discussion, and maybe just discussion with the abutting property owner.
Sure, we'll keep you in the loop on how that discussion goes. From a grant perspective, it's probably going to be 6 months before we find out if we have a grant, and a while after that before we have a grant agreement in place. So my anticipation would be that we would be talking about next spring. But what we've decided, what we're trying to do is to try to map out the alternate route and get it agreed upon as soon as possible, so that we can put that behind us.
Okay, so you're still talking with the abutting owner to see if we could
Yes,
come up with a amicable solution, reasonable solution for everyone.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Good night.
Good night.
You're gonna stay with me for a while, huh? The last item.
That's you, Dan.
If you have time, yeah.
Oh, okay, yep.
Then item number 3, the team, preparing for the police station renovation, and it's an item from the Board of Affairs, Hill Ridge. And we've been working with Ms. Cugno. And the money for this, and it's a proposal that they would like to do. That's it. Let me go over to you, Kevin.
Good evening, everybody. As Rose mentioned, this is a transfer request from some money left over from 2 projects that were completed last year to continue the effort to clear out current Board of Ed storage area in anticipation of the police station addition and renovation project. We came forward a couple of meetings ago and asked for funding to scan considerable number of files that exist both in the Board of Ed storage area and the town storage area, again, in anticipation of the project. Some of the items are equipment, files, furniture, and other items that obviously cannot be scanned. Mr. Kugno from the Board of Ed was able to identify space at Willard to be able to move the items, freeing it up for the project. And this is a request to fund overtime of staff, potentially outside companies to come in, move the items to ultimately dismantle the current storage areas, the storage fencing, and then move that over to Willard so that the items can be kept safe when they're over there.
Okay. Any questions? Or Mr. Kugno or Kevin? Okay. Okay, we're good. Go ahead and take a motion on this.
I move to approve the transfer of $30,153.66 from the Hubbard Playground account. $9,846.34 from the key air quality account, both in capital non-recurring fund, to the buildings and renovations account, the police construction fund, pending the approval by the Board of Finance.
Second on
I'll second that.
that. If there's no further questions, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4. Finally get to the Percival soccer field renovation. We've been working for a couple years and Mr. Woods here to give you some good news about the results.
Right.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you?
I thought they were all here to see me.
Now, what happened?
I know, I scared them off.
Yeah, somehow. So upset them. Must have upset them somehow.
Completely. And I showered before I came. So we went out to bid, we had 7 companies turn in proposals. We interviewed the 3 lowest, and US Pitch Care, who is the same company that rebuilt Sage One a few years back, came in as the lowest bidder. We believe that they are overqualified and they can definitely do the job great, and hopefully do it under budget. We know that we have a very short contingency, so we're hoping that hope nothing goes wrong. But in projects nowadays, God only knows, but that's our reservation.
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm glad to see it, finally moving forward here, right?
So are we.
Yeah. That's all good. Okay, yeah, questions?
Well, they do this for a living. I mean, it's like the guys we got for the Fidelli field.
Correct. Yep, US Pitch Care builds golf courses in the early spring and the late fall, and during the summer to fill in the gap, they build athletic fields. They just rebuilt Rocky Hills baseball field. Like I said, they did Sage One, so they definitely have plenty of experience.
Thank you. All right. Let's get
I
in there.
don't know what you, that's 17 cents.
We'll find. you.
Sorry. I could read.
All right.
By stamp.
Yeah,
Right.
no, can't do that. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and take a motion on this.
Move to authorize the town manager of Roche J. Creamer to enter into a contract with US Pitch Care LLC for the renovation of Percival Soccer Field, amount not to exceed $442,774, which includes $13,774.
All right, thank you. Second on
I'll
that.
second that.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, second. Thank you.
All right, now, save the best for last.
Sure.
So remember, a couple of meetings ago, since we own all of Crystal Creek now, we talked about brainstorming some ideas, asking staff for ideas, council discussion as to what we could do with Crystal Creek. And this is the kitchen sink you asked for, so it's all here. And you might have some other ideas that we might want to have. So before we get to the possibilities, the staff provided some of the current uses. I will not read through all of them, but it gives you an idea of what we do there. So, for example, they have dog meetings, classes that we use, Parks and Rec. I use the space in the back of the clubhouse for that. Summer camps that we run at Crystal Creek, it's used a lot for storage for various group, anything from the summer program activities to the building up peak uses. And it gives you a description of all the types of things that we store there. And I say this not because we can't use some other facility for storage, but if you were to do something different, you have to think about what to do with this, whether we want to continue to offer these programs or discuss. But the big one is the holiday distributions, that all the food that we get, contributions, we start collecting stuff from September to Thanksgiving, the holiday distribution, it's a perfect location for that. Traffic away from all the, hustle and bustle of the downtown world. And it's a very convenient location to do the distributions. There are some after school programming that is done there. And Amazing Race, community-wide scavenger hunt, give you some examples there. Then the actual Crystal Creek itself is used for cross-country races, 2 times a year, at high school and middle school. We recently added the Leash Free Dog Park, which is about almost 50,000 square feet that is fenced in. So that's, I would think it would be used even more as more people know about it, and of course, summer weather, although you could argue the last couple of months been more summer here. And then rentals, we also get a lot of calls for us to use it for different things, from baby showers to the parties to graduation. It's not something we have really pursued because we have to invest some money to do things the right way. Walking trails, Jim talked about a lot, what goes on with the Contats and Crystal Creek, Spruce Brook. It's used a lot by the folks in town and people from out of town, both the Middletown and the well inside of it. So something to keep in mind, and we have received a lot of funds and we're asking for more funds now. Just we have an agenda item asking money for improved trails. All right. So that's just a quick overview of what we use it currently. Then considerations for the future. Okay. So one thing is to consider, you want to do an RFP to sell all or part of the property without use of restrictions to maximize the sale price. Okay. So what when you go through this, just keep this in mind. There are a lot of things that we can do as a town to use the space, right? And let's take that as one end of the pendulum, right? The town spending money to use it, the building for different purposes, for offices, relocate, put more programs, playing fields, all of that. Okay. The other end of the pendulum is on the spectrum, you can say it's full private use, sell the whole thing, and then try to get more capital to the town. My recommendation, suggestion is to think something in the middle, that you should not pay for everything as a town, and see whether we can, it's going to ultimately be passed on to the taxpayers and get grants for everything, and we will, that will happen your way. All private is probably not good because there are a lot of users that currently use the space for, and probably can discontinue everything at the same time. Right? So do an RFP to see what, with restrictions, maximum sale price, that's something that we can do. Can deed restrict, part or all of the open space. develop playing fields. And these are some of the things that people give ideas on part of the site. Reserve the whole property for a couple of town uses, so that, including current uses. Over time, people have said, oh, can we move, to do this now, but they already in the police station information, in the board of ed to get to approve. Right, and then use the space downstairs for that police station, but these are ideas, right, but I'm not saying we should do anything, but just food for thought. And there are other offices like social services. Would it make sense for them to operate from there? Because they spend a lot of, most of their programs and activities are on that location. We also might want to consider an RFP for all property for affordable housing. Part of it, this RFP could be limited to unoccupied senior housing, because this was a priority that we listed in the affordable housing plan. So it's listed there, and we want to take part of the group and think about affordable senior housing. And obviously we would go through planning and zoning for approvals and all of that. Potential for keeping a portion of the parcel for a 9-hole golf course with high-end single-family houses. Southern Country Club, which was done there. Good visual is TPC. They're not TPC, but you get those homes around a golf course, but like something like an executive golf course. And of course, I'm going to ask you, suggesting that the town do all this. It's private. I would just move on to donate part of the site. Another idea is in partnership with an organization like Habitat for Humanity. You develop some affordable housing as part of the game for them to do it. Then you can do an RFP for clubhouse only to sell or lease it. Used by a nonprofit like the Y. That's being discussed, they've approached us, they're interested, so time to think about having those conversations. Using it for something like a banquet venue. We have received inquiries from people. It's a beautiful location to hold weddings and all. Of course, you can't just hold it the way it is now. That can include the kitchen and this sort of facilities, things like that. Maintain and expand on current services. With Parks and Rec, we can even do more with it, with leisure activities, services. I talked about this, if you want to do a lot of things that are out there, the kitchen for events, manage the soup kitchen, town residents, after school programs, adult classes, and use the clubhouse for meeting spaces. So, one of the things that you might want to think about is, we just purchased the other part of Crystal Creek. Take a year or so to think about this and see what you want to do with it. Some notes here. There's whatever we do, this property, but single family residences on Savage Hill and Circlewood Drive, a lot of houses there. So take that into consideration if you're using anything, running those houses. We can also talk about Middletown, because they also acquired this land from the same developer. Ask what their plans are, and as of now, they're planning to use it for open space. We can also think about an RFP could say that all or part of the cart paths and dog park be either retained by the town or deed restricted to town users. And Jim pointed out this, if you do that, to another group, we have to reimburse the recreation of trails grant, just from cart path paving and all that. If the town does not have ownership. So another one is, it just goes back to what I mentioned before about using this with a private party. got a lot of expenses coming up. We are working on a DP pension. Police, this is for the police, and then also the renovations. From the previous purchase that we did, we removed $3.5 million of assessed value from the town's grand list. And then the recent one was 1.2 million. So, if you would sell at least half of it, we'll get to 2.5 million, put it back on the tax rolls. That's something to think about. What we use it for and how we use it, we can be perspective, we can talk about it, but these are conversations we need to have so that get some tax money out of it. We can move it.
What's the total acreage?
You remember, Jim, the total acreage?
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it was, I think we had 71 acres before, and we just picked up about 15, 16, so about 87 acres in 3 parcels. One is, again, the big one is north of Spruce Brook and west of Savage Hill, and then we've got one that's on the Atkins Street, Savage Hill or Spruce Brook corner, and then the one with the clubhouse, and then which connects to the piece we just bought. So I'd say about 87 acres.
Thank you.
Then don't forget that the town purchased the original property, including a clubhouse with tax exempt bonds. And it will be retired in 2026. Till they're retired, we have to use it for town government purposes for at least 9% of the land. But you could sell it, but then you have to pay back all the bonds.
How many acres was that? That would be the building plus across the street, right?
That was the initial one that
That was the first
you
piece.
mentioned. That's the larger chunk, right, Jim?
Right. 71 acres in the initial purchase, and Kevin can comment, but also you can have some private use in the total bond package. So if you decided you wanted to do something, that's something that could be further investigated to see if it can be done within the context of the bonding limitations.
I would think that the speed that we move
Right.
is around the corner.
Snail's pace is what
Yeah.
you're saying?
So I don't think, any transaction is going to take place tomorrow, but
No.
So there'd be
but
no.
it's something to keep in mind.
After that, that would be if that is what ultimately is determined, that'd be.
Right.
I see Kevin online. Do you want to add anything on the bond package?
No, I mean, I'll confirm what Jim had said. The town is allowed 10% non-governmental purpose to still be in compliance with the bonds. It's a very specific exercise. The town went through it when it came to the Steel Boulevard because of the operation there and the use of bonds to buy a couple of parcels that were used there. So it's certainly not unheard of. We just have to be very cautious until 2026 when the bonds are retired. If the town were to sell the property, certainly those proceeds could be used to retire the bonds because we're well within the 10-year window to be able to retire the bonds early.
So, the questions you have to sort of ask yourself, is something that town will be interested in selling or leasing a portion of part of the property. So we rarely sell any or lease property. We haven't done it in the past, but that doesn't mean we can't, if for the right reasons. So that's a kitchen. So at this point, we'll tell you to for questions, and Jim's available to district.
I'm not familiar with the buildings. Is it suitable for office space?
We'll have to do some renovations there, and I believe Doug will see talk about the sewer line. There needs to be some work done with the elevation Not that you can't do it, but you just spend some money.
It was recently brought to my attention that the leaks for the Connecticut Health District is up for renewal. And 5 years ago, they signed a very, very expensive lease with a renewal clause that I object that we were party to because we're part of the health district. Might be possible office space for them to bring somebody to town and help them save some money.
For, space for.
The health district.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot, you know, so a million things we can figure out here, right? Probably wouldn't want to do too much to the bonds or retire anything.
And my knee jerk is keep it to maintain control for future use.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the meantime, some income will be nice too.
That would be good.
The recent acres that we bought, the 50 acres, those are not bought with tax exempt bonds, right?
No, we paid for it.
We pay for that.
Right, so we could, there's no,
Let's check it out. That's good.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. That was strict.
I know, right? Portable, there.
Anything that I missed, Jim, you want to add?
No, I think just that one of the things we talked about is, you know, it's a lot there, a whole range of options we're throwing out at you, but if you are interested in entertaining selling part or all of the property, particularly if only part of the property, then, you know, we could look at doing, like, take a step of doing a master plan and doing some concepts, just even, you know, start very conceptually bubble diagrams, you know, this part of the property for this part for that, so you could start to see what it might look like, what the possibilities are within the range of things that you think you'd like to consider. So that's another thought, you know, and again, it's not something we purchased the property in December. It's not something you have to do tomorrow, but it's something to think about. And then, you know, if you're thinking about selling part of the property, then it's a process that you have to engage.
Yes.
Just to follow up on what Jim said, it probably would be a good idea to have a highest and best use analysis done. So that you, when you're considering different options, know what an appraiser has determined the highest and best use of the property would be. It's good eye perspective.
So, Jeff, if I can, would you suggest waiting to do that until we were looking to possibly do something?
I think you want to know it before you start to talk about options.
So,
I would do it now.
Well, what do we think? Good suggestion. I think it's good. Yeah, I appreciate that.
We'll do it.
Appraiser.
Yeah, one of the issues on the appraisal side is the highest and best use is based on existing zoning. So if you have a vision that you might want to change the zoning, then that's something to consider also, perhaps before you get the appraisal.
Well, what we would do is we would have the appraiser do it as is and then have a
Right.
do a couple of alternative scenarios based on
Sure.
conceptual.
So most of it is R21 and R43. Residential and single family, open space. But it's an asset, it's not an asset, so. Don't be quick to give it away, but.
No.
yeah, I
If
mean.
we want to give it away, we should
especially
probably
when things are already-
shape it in a way that would help the town with some restrictions and. Restrictions, I'm just going to get B and Z more in it.
I would rather pay for a professional to assess it than to put the wrong thing on there. I'd say, I think it behooves us to, you know, study whatever we can.
Yeah.
You know, study whatever we can to use for its best use, like agree with Jeff.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good place to start. Right? So we all agree, you want to try to move forward with that and how much you
Yeah,
think
that
that
would-
would that? would-
Well, I mean, again, we're
We're not in any rush.
not looking for a full-blown appraisal. We're
No.
looking for a highest and best use analysis. The price is gonna be dictated by how many different alternative uses we want them to examine. Right, because as Jim indicated, they're supposed to, when they do a highest and best use analysis, they're supposed to appraise it based upon what's legally permissible, as well as what's physically possible. So we would say to them, okay, appraise it based on existing zoning, and then also give us within that same highest and best use analysis, highest and best use if the zoning was, we'd have to come up with a couple of different alternatives to give them a look at.
Do we have a relationship with any, appraiser? Does anybody call up and say, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the town has a revaluation consultant that is a subsidiary of Karen and Fazio, which is Chris Karen and Mike Fazio in Fairfield, who are both MAI appraisers, and Dave Hurst works with Joe Ferraro a lot on reval and tax appeal stuff. So we certainly could. They're all really, really busy, I can tell you that. It's taking a long time to get appraisals right now. This is highest and best use, so it should take less time. And cost less money, because we're not asking them to go out there necessarily and do an appraisal that, self-contained comprehensive appraisal like you use in court isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for a highest and best use analysis for internal use only.
Yeah, just a guide, right? Guide to kind of guide us down to the next step, right?
I mean, my thought process would be, let's figure out what we think we might want to see there versus saying, what can we have there? Because I think that, at that point, we can figure out what zoning changes might there be needed. And, instead of having the scope of a project, this big, we can narrow it down a little bit better, which can also cut down potential in our costs for it. But I think it's better for us to try and, I don't want to say dictate, but better for us to try and lead or decide what we might want to see there versus someone else saying, well, this is what, what we think could be there, because I think we know the town a little bit better. Just my thoughts.
Well, what you could do is you could have a workshop. We could bring the appraiser in as a kickoff meeting. To kind of have a discussion and spitball. We could do an executive session. Because it affects price of the property they're selling. And just have a working meeting with an appraiser and let him hear all of the discussions and try to come up with 2 or 3 options that you want him to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that we would not just ask him, first of all, on the kitchen sink for sure.
No.
And at the same time, as is, there's nothing much, but I want to give him 2, 3 ideas that we want to explore so that it's something that you can work with. Otherwise, you're probably going to get, leave it at open. The roads and the other part maybe for housing. But that might be a good idea to do a little brainstorming session with an appraiser who's capable of, giving us some ideas too, some thoughts on how.
Yeah.
What would help? I'm a visual guy. If we can get a map that shows currently what's there, the dog trails, the house, the clubhouse, and whatever. Oh, pardon me. The pooper scooper area, and if we can get, a simple map that I can understand that shows, what we just purchased, what we got.
Where the neighborhoods are that are around there.
Yeah, because, there's a lot of residential there.
There is.
That would, thank you, that would be helpful.
Yeah, there's a good map here, we just can take that and.
Yeah, the trail.
The trail and all of Pistol Creek, but something like this, but different, several colors.
But yeah, a little bit.
Where the trails are so that you get an idea. Of
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good. If we could do that, Roach, maybe start with that, and then maybe we could have that executive session, I think. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
And then go from there. But there's no rush.
No.
There's no hurry, but it doesn't hurt to start discussing things for the town for the future, right? Future planning. It's always a good thing.
Yep.
instead of last minute planning, so yeah, we'll work with that, get the map, and then maybe let's,
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
first,
yeah,
and then you can we'll talk about it offline. Might be a good
yeah,
person to bring in.
that makes sense,
Mr. Ferraro might know what the names as well.
you might. Okay, we good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, onto the town manager's report.
Some more?
No, you gave us a whole bunch.
All right, I'll just give you one item.
Okay, good.
Just one item.
That
Look, remember some time ago, I talked about, Jim, thank you very much. You're more than
Thank you.
welcome to stay. But also welcome to, I think, Washington DC, do whatever you have to do. Appreciate all your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to talk to you about, what I mentioned a couple of months ago about the staff had asked about a 4-day work week. In the summer, a pilot program to, they had indicated that a lot of other towns were doing it. I did inquire and some examples about other towns and how they were doing it, mostly town hall like operations, because not public works, even so they're not doing, not and sort of produce the number of hours that you public. Make a long story short, we've actually put it on paper, the plan on to take Friday off, extending the hours Monday through Thursday. And I'm glad we went through the exercise with a lot of people eventually wanted to stay with what we have. Because I think some of them did realize, well, as much as the 3-day work week is nice, 4-day also means you'll be working long on other days. So for various reasons, some of them have committed plans during the summer, and then others have daycare issues, and so it just didn't work out. So I'm just letting you know there were some people talk in town that we're going to move into a 4-day work week. There's nothing like that. We're just having conversations.
Yeah.
So I would not be recommending even a pilot program, because if the majority of the people don't want to do it, this is not something what was going to help out the staff, and they brought it up.
Oh, they brought it up, and now they're, and
now.
now,
How things work, like people have a 3-day week off, it's wonderful. Can you
Yeah.
have a 3-day weekend? Sure, we'll look into it.
Right.
And I guess when you do the math, you realize you could work on other days.
yes, okay.
And it didn't really, practice.
So they've reversed their thoughts on that.
It's the C word, change.
Change, that's terrible.
So, but I included
Well,
everyone,
that's
got a lot of
something, yeah.
feedback, a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Everybody an opportunity to chime in.
Yeah.
It's, like I say, it's the government of the people, right?
Right.
This is, if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to force it.
And the 4-day work week was gonna be that you would close town hall on Fridays?
Yes, because we're here only 4.5 hours. So only, if we can, and that help some folks, some people want to do it because
Yeah.
they would rather want to drive 35-40 minutes and go back. But I would still explore the options. We are doing some pilot programs with some flex time with people.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so, but the department will remain open.
Yeah.
The same hours, but if you want to come in early, like the building department does that now, they come in early because all the contractors when we started.
Oh, really, sure.
So some come in early, one person would come in early, other one would stay late. The office is covered, and you also get, so the emphasis here is to put the customer first, on the resident, the business purpose. If you're enhancing the service, enhancing customer service, not because I want to go home at 2 o'clock every day in the summer because I have a tea time. So that's not a good reason. And so
No, that's good. No, yeah, that's good. I'm glad they came to that conclusion by themselves, which is always the best way, so.
but I'll keep these options open because this is something we get a lot. I think the town managers group, when we talk, it's something that is not going to go away.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of conversations with the folks from the state as well. they're into the hybrid, it's going to stay.
Yeah.
Some better than others,
Seems to be higher, with the state, it seems to be hybrid for some people, not for others, even though I don't know, just, it's kind of odd how it's working. Some departments, some agencies are different, I get it.
Exactly. Like,
But it's still not the uniform policy,
Yeah.
even though there is the uniform policy, I think. But
I've been interacting with the state offices, hybrid is a very polite word.
yes, I know. Well, even on, well, forget it, I won't say anything else, but yes, it's interesting.
but I think this is the future, right? One model doesn't work for everyone. So
No,
the state, for example, OPM,
yeah,
they could work from home,
right,
but not the DMV.
right. Well, of course, yeah, no,
Right.
right.
So there are departments that work from home. And the reason why I say this is a question that gets asked all the time on the member folks. It's not going away. Working from home, hybrid flexibility, people want more time with their family. So we will evolve with time, but it needs to be a model that will work for the town and staff. And one size is not going to be all. I know people aren't going to be happy because if you're in public works or if you're in public grounds, or you're not going to work 4 days a week.
No, right. Well, no, I would be concerned with that, if that's what we did. Yeah,
We have tried in some shops, where you keep the hours open and, give flexibility for folks to come in early, have a lunch, shorter lunch, leave early, but next day make it up. The work gets done. Garage is a good example. Try that.
Right.
And we did that during the pandemic.
Right.
So that people would not be working with each other in close proximity. So.
So we're just gonna table that for
Yeah,
now.
it's-
Yeah, I mean, I mean, that's good, because it just, I know with the state, that some folks that work there, the bad thing about it is they sort of have a policy, but they department by department, office by office, manager by manager, it seems to be implemented differently, which creates other issues.
Yeah.
Because if the manager in one department says, oh yeah, hey, the three, you can work hybrid, whatever they make up, and then the next department over there, they can't, and they've left almost too much discretion with the manager of that smaller department, even though it fits within the overall policy, it's led to some ill feeling between different departments, different agencies.
So
Gotta be careful with that.
one group that I'm aware of, the state, the manager has for the whole, that during the hours.
Yeah.
That they should all be available. If anyone calls, or they're on Teams, so if you have the time, the video should come on.
Yeah.
Right. And the second one is that. You say you're working remotely, yeah, I get a visit. See if you actually.
Well, that seems to have happened in many places. The remote working is not working out. A lot of corporations are getting people back to the office. It's almost going, it seems to be, right, are going back. Yeah, because of that very thing, right?
But
Well, what they're noticing is when it first started with the pandemic, people worked from home, it was a benefit, productivity was up, and now they're seeing
It's going the other way.
productivity going down, and so they're starting to bring people back into. the
Yeah, that
office.
seems
So,
to be the case.
most people now, they're going, different articles I've been reading, they're going to apply for positions. They're saying, well, this is remote, right? And like, no, it's not, sorry, not anymore, you have to come into the office.
Yeah,
And it is what it is. If you don't want it, well, then go find another job.
right, yeah. I mean, it worked in the pandemic because there was nothing else to do. So they did their work.
Right.
Now there's other things to do.
But it's not one size fits all.
No, it's not.
Some real high level corporations, the executives work from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do, yeah.
Some lower level people skate anywhere they can and don't bother to do the work. I mean, it's all.
No, it's,
It's like
you
one
can't-
size not gonna fit all.
no, it doesn't. It's,
So,
anyway,
good friend of mine, works for Pratt & Whitney.
Yeah.
Their entire finance and IT department. They demolished the building,
they did it up, so there's nowhere to go.
nowhere to go, they're all looking for home,
From home.
right? So, I mean, it's kind of enormous. you know, time is 5 years, like, I'll never go back to work,
Right,
but they're project based,
yeah,
right? So you gotta deliver.
right,
And of course, and if you don't, so sometimes it works because, you know, think about IT, you can be anywhere in the world. Sure. And provide IT services. Same with if you're in product development, other things. You're a high level manager, you have to deliver and, you know, you can't just say, I'm working from home and I'm not going to show.
Right.
And I know, well, the managers here, I don't know, about maybe a few of them, they would work from home and get more done.
well, that's the other side of it, yeah, a lot of people in the pandemic did get more done at home.
And they're gonna all, I'll tell you the wrong, my son's a high-level engineer for Pratt. He can't work from home because it's not secured line.
Yes,
So he has to work.
No, it's it definitely, yeah, definitely, it's all different. So anyway, so we'll end that discussion for now.
That's good.
Yeah. With everyone in the town hall happy with it, I mean, I guess, right? Basically, or some are, some not.
It was a mix.
It was a mix, all right, well, okay, yeah. So where we at, special committee reports? Is that, I don't mean to cut you off, your town manager.
That's one item.
You said one item, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hold it to
So
that.
actually, it is more time.
Yeah. Maybe too soon, it's warming up too much, gas is expensive, it's warming up too much. Special committee report, but we had our ordinance committee tonight, obviously, golf commission we talked about, and the ATV regulation, which we're still working on, but we made, I think, some good progress on that. Anything else? Yeah.
Talking about ordinance, did you have a chance to check what the local towns were doing with their chickens?
Oh, the chickens, yes, we've got,
So, I've asked, that should go through P and Z. And, there were reasons, you know, the bottom line is people do a text amendment. Planning and zoning, if that's what you want, that's what you get it.
Retain 10 acres.
That's
I
interesting.
just, you know, I've heard much smaller. You know, certain amount of chickens on a half-acre land, well, I don't know. 60
Yeah, so
acres.
there were reasons for that, for example, so if you have less acreage, it's chickens, it's okay, and if you have goats and cattle. Different on the farm, so.
I mean, a herd of cattle can't be on a couple hundred.
It's different, chickens.
Yeah, so, I mean, well.
Well-
There's, I mean, I've been approached by quite a few people.
Well,
about
it needs to go through P and Z.
Well, that's why
I'm
I'm
going
asking.
to do a text amendment, look them, and they'll.
Yeah,
The public
maybe,
hearing and they'll-
like you said, by the numbers of chickens,
You know, it should correlate with acreage.
yeah, I
What's the
don't.
matter?
Well, I think
Don't you
the other
like
thing-
chickens?
You people remember a goat?
I'm gonna go 91 and 10 that time.
No, I think
Eat our
the
pets.
only thing to remember too with the chickens though, is that if you're gonna do it on, say, in an area where you have half-acre lots or something like that, then you need to ensure that the chickens are contained and not free
Yeah,
roaming,
they can't be
because
free.
if neighbor A wants them and neighbor B doesn't, if neighbor B has a dog and the chickens go on the dogs, you know.
I had ducks, they
Just have to be careful.
loved to walk.
You need a leash law for chicken.
The leash law, yeah, that'll be the next one I have to do. I don't,
So
fenced in area for chickens at the park.
So I may share this with the
Yeah.
council.
Yeah.
From Tom Panner, since the regulation was changed in 2016 from 3 acres, what you had before.
Right,
The ZB approval to 10 acres upon property, we have had a number of, many inquiries to reduce the acreage of chickens.
Yeah.
And other farm animals, but also have opposite from other residents, many who don't want any farm animals within the residential areas and file complaints on neighbors.
Yeah.
So advice given is consistent within the public can bring forward text amendments. They should provide data such as best farm practices of Department of Agriculture Studies, etc., to support their proposed change. No one has come forward. The staff can also bring a proposed amendment to the commission because we see an issue or because the commission so directs us. As part of the POCD, we have had discussions on whether farming regulations are appropriate and current. I believe we will have some direction on the matter from the committee in the coming months. They're going to the POC right now.
Yeah,
So I was saying, if I recall correctly, when the commission hired a consultant to work with the committee, staff to modify regs, approximately in 2016. Focus was options to save large scale farm and residents were going to subsequently work as a farm committee to determine what would be appropriate for the small and hobby farms. So distinguish between hobby farms and large scale farms. Generally, if we're forcing a finish in the POCD, I think it's best to remove the amendments under the policies and priorities of POCD are established. So, but if it's a burning issue for the town, we can bring it to the.
I just know
planning and
people have
zoning.
approached. me, that's
I know,
all.
but just, what her point is that there are others who will be opposing this like crazy. They don't.
I think what has happened out there, unfortunately, is that there are many,
Yes.
many breeds with chickens now. that
Oh, yeah,
are not 10 acres, let's put it that way. So I think you've created an atmosphere that people are just gonna break the rules because they don't like the rules. So and they're not, there's no enforcement of it. Not that I'm saying there has to be, but the radical chicken people, but I'm just saying there's right, that just seems to be what.
I wake up to a rooster every.
Yeah, no, well, we don't want the rooster. No rooster. I did read an interesting article about people think because egg prices have gone up right incredibly. But this article contended by some agricultural expert that it really doesn't save you much money when you figure the fees and the cost of it. It's not that easy. If you read the cost of it, you're not really saving. You know, the feed, everything's gone up, right? It's not like the chicken coop, whatever you gotta do. Yeah.
Certain chickens stop laying eggs at 4 years old.
That's
Some
right.
start at 2 and end
Said
at
that
5.
too. Yes, yeah.
So, not that I checked into it.
It's also through direction, actually keeping its population down. For children not get Lyme disease, I mean,
We got that shit. Anyway.
Jeff once said chicken Marson.
Fly on the way home.
Okay,
Sorry, you don't need.
enough for the chickens. Council communications, are there any?
Oh,
Yes,
I have one.
yes, sir.
My brother and I transversed the town, as you know, weekly. And Monday, we went to a soft opening of the former grocery store, Rogers. And it's Family Dollar and Family Tree.
Yeah,
Very nice, very clean. Everything's brand new. They sell milk, eggs, bread, cold cuts.
discount eggs.
Oh, just a thing.
Eggs were 370 and up.
That's,
I purposely asked.
that's the argument right there.
And I had a nice conversation with the area manager. We're getting a seasoned manager. So hopefully it's gonna work out.
That's one of their new programs that joint Family Dollar with Dollar Tree.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's like only 3 around Connecticut, but I think we're number 4, maybe, something like that. There's one in Stratford, I know, been in that one, and there's a couple others, but I think I think in March they're having
March
the
19th.
grand opening. What's the date?
March 19th, I believe. But you can tell when you go in the store, the red part's one and the green part's the other.
I think a Dollar Tree and
Dollar
Family
Tree,
Dollar.
yeah.
I mean, they
They
all.
really,
Nice.
you never know you're in the old nozzles.
Okay.
Or, you know.
Did that nice job in it.
Perfect. They
Good.
ripped the floor up. They put it
Oh, nice.
on the floors. No, it was a soft opening.
It's like.
They didn't
right now, they're not
advertise.
fully stocked and
Right.
everything, and they didn't make a big thing, they're trying to ease people in, and then they'll do their big grand opening, like.
It's coming
Jesus,
in.
Everything.
Yes, eggs and sales.
Eggs on sale. They'll be going tomorrow. We're all going. Head over there. What time do they open till?
Yeah.
It's for the stuff there.
They'll stop there on the way home for eggs. No, he wants it already cooked.
The chicken.
He wants the chicken.
They don't sell liquor, however.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't cross
Not
the
yet.
bridge
Not
unless-
Any other, council communications, any other council communications? Nothing?
No.
Except that we'll take a vote, yeah, motion on the acceptance of minutes of our February 7th, thank you, second,
I can second
all right, any questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. And a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
that.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
There we go.
I think we drank 5 items off that.
I thought,
This is crazy. Of all the things you discussed, this is a big one.
that is.